So we'll call the Town Village Commission March 2024 meeting to order. Our next business meeting will be March 26, 2024 at noon in 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 205. And next month's hearing will be Tuesday, April 9th, 2024 at 4 p.m. in 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 204. Staff, could you raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Of course. Morgan Graff?
And you promise to tell the truth of your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon and evening.
Yes.
Great. All right, we'll do the introductions. Let's start with you, Ben. We'll go down one.
Ben Goodman.
Jason Sudi.
Shannon Fergus.
Paige Kaplansky.
And do we have a public forum today?
No public forum today.
Okay, sounds good. Approval of staff approvals and should have looked at what page it is. I already forgot. It starts at 11. Is that right? Or 10?
I move to approve.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, let me call. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. I will go through for abstentions. 53rd East First Avenue, 31 East Russell, 718 North Fourth, 1080 Say, 680 Kerr, oops, there's another one. 345 East Second. Any abstentions? All right, hearing none. That motion stands. Can I have a motion for approval of the last meeting minutes for February 13th, 2024?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I will abstain because I was not at that meeting. Anyone else need to abstain? Okay. Sounds good. All right, staff, what do we need to know today before we dive into all this action?
The only, I guess, not major thing, but the first staff recommended application was moved to staff approval of the business meeting, so review that, so we could just head on into continued applications for one.
Okay, let's do it. 1080 Say Avenue, which is IV-23-11-018, 1080 Say Avenue. Do we have a representative here today? Alex. Now, call it. All right, if you can, please raise your right hand and state your name for the record.
Tim Ferratus?
And do you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon?
Yes.
Great. All right, staff, try to take it from you. We'll go.
Yes. Staff report, proposed work description, remove existing wood siding and install new hardy board to match existing siding and current pattern on home, retain existing window trim or to replace with the same measurements, profile and detail as existing trim, repair damaged wood framing. Staff analysis, the following is taken from November 14th, 2023 meeting minutes. I'm just going to go through these real quick since it's been a couple months for a refresher.
Yeah.
Commissioner comments. Commissioners agree that the overall horizontal siding appears to be in good condition, but the vertical siding within the band does not. Commissioners agree that they would need further investigation of the condition of the framing before they could consider full hardy board replacement. Commissioners could see the current structure to be restored to similar methods and textures as existing and to replace in like kind. Commissioners requested a drawing to be submitted of the flashing detail from the band board. They requested applicant to provide their plan to partially dismantle the north elevation. They stated that they would be fine with the applicant to install sheathing in order to tie and brace the structure to ensure it is stable while he works through this process. At the March business meeting, the commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Requested staff to label the elevations on the photos and details of what is original and what has been replaced. Clarity on what trim pieces will be reused and what will be replaced. Submit flashing detailing of what will be used from the hardy board spec packet for the band board between first and second floor. Recommended applicant provide scaled and measured elevation drawings to indicate where the demo plan and areas of rebuild will be. Provide additional information on the operational planning for repairing structure, maybe to perform an elevation by elevation process. And commission asked staff to discuss their site visit in November, stating the north elevation was determined to be in poor condition and has seen damage, but the other elevations appeared to be in good condition on those other elevations. Staff had conducted a site visit on November 6, 2023 to view the condition of the property. From what we could see, the north elevation has seen some extensive damage from the band between the first and second floor to the first floor. This can be seen due to the current openings and fastener detachment on the boards along the band, as well as an opening that is currently above the front porch. Overall, the siding on the other elevations appear to be in good condition with failing paint on the surface. Staff recommends 2 options. We recommend the following. Applicant remove the siding from the second floor band down to the first floor on north elevation to assess the condition of the framing and repair where needed. Replace the removed siding with new wood drop siding, the same reveal as existing. Repair damaged wood in kind to match vertical siding band within that band board, as well as restore existing siding on all elevations to repair, replace in kind. Or the second option is to continue application IV 23-11-018 to allow applicant time to explore additional investigative demo on additional areas on the north elevation or on other elevations of the home to assess the condition of the framing. Basis of staff rec is 311611, standards for alteration.
Okay, over to you.
Well, last time we met, I guess a lot of you guys agreed that the siding is poor. I guess the history, you guys got to understand the history behind the house. I lived across the street from it for 13 years. And even though you think that it looks good on the front and the other side, I saw them put a Band-Aid on where there was huge holes. And so like now that it's all covered up, repainted, it looks great, but they didn't address the structural issue. Were you able to present the videos?
No, we were not able to include it in this.
But you got them?
Yeah, we do have them, yeah. But we have the approved investigative photos that you submitted to us for that area.
Yeah, so I sent some videos of me poking the 2x4 and the wood exploding. So I'm like, I think that was I know, Mr. Goodman, you had mentioned back in November, like, yeah, we want to save the structure. We don't want to have it in a situation where it falls apart. I also want to update the fire rating of the studs. There's no fire blocking between the attic and the first and second floor. So I think, like, I understand that it looks a certain way, but the siding is rotten. They just put paint over it. And there were other holes on the west elevation that they had repaired. They had scaffolding for like, what, 5 years? They were up in age. They tried their best. And the windows look just like these windows on the front side. So it's like, what damage is in there? And if I remove, siding's going to crack, siding's going to break. And I understand you guys want drawings. I got with my architect. He just wasn't able, his workload was too much. We will put drawings together. The only thing that I have a problem with is the small teardrop. I can do the reveal. I can do the vertical stuff. I could do the trim. I talked to a gentleman about doing the windows original with the scroll and everything. Because some windows have it, some windows don't. They're all rotten. But I was gonna pay to have that done to kind of bring it back to that. But I'm more worried about the structure. It's scary when you stick a screwdriver in and the wood explodes. I have the video, but they do too. I would definitely look at it because it gives more perspective to structurally. And I'm just begging to get this thing going because there's holes in the house and it's just going to continue to get worse and worse. And there's going to be a point where structurally it's just not going to be sound. I got a lot of stuff. But, I'm trying to preserve the inside, the historical part, because the wood trim's beautiful. You got to see that. So we're just trying to keep as much history as possible. And I've worked with the commission before. And I've done some remodels, and I understand the historical aspect of it. I really do. The one thing I cannot recreate with Hardy is that small teardrop, but I can have the same repeat. The trim's going to be the same, and I want to bring a more historical look to it, especially with the windows. If I could put those back, it's going to make the house pop back to what it used to look like, 80, 90 years ago. But at this point, I'm just really, really concerned with the structure, especially when we negotiated to open up 3 feet. I opened up 3 feet. Yeah, it was all rotten. So that's scary, and that's the bottom. So it's like it's supporting all this weight. and it just has to be addressed.
So you're, just so I understand, you're proposing that you would replace everything as far as visually like in kind, and you proposing to use hardy board to do that, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, yes. All right, so let's go down and who would like to start?
I'll start. I mean, I think before we actually get into my comments, I just want to know if you have any sort of work plan,
Yeah, oh, yes.
sequence plan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've already coordinated with my framers. Well, first off, we have to do a like for like product search regarding all the other stuff, because that has to be, I can recreate that.
Well, I guess I'm more concerned about, so let me just jump in here. So my concerns are just that we have a work plan in place, because I understand that you're looking at, it's not just what we're seeing on the elevation and the siding and so forth. You're looking at restoring framing. And my guess is that you can't restore the framing of three sides of the house at the same time. So
Yeah,
it might be that you're going to be working on the front as staff has recommended anyway at first, and that we would have to approve a demo and then a reconstruction of the structure itself. And because that is such a invasive kind of request for work plan, I think it's important that we have a work plan.
okay, yes.
So,
You know,
so I'm just saying that for my support, and it sounds like you're trying to do all the right things in terms of the aesthetic part of the project.
Mhm.
But you're going to be doing some demo that puts the whole house at risk. So
Yeah.
I just want to know that we have a work plan and that we have the existing trim and orientation of the siding documented to scale. So I think I'm mostly in alignment with the staff recommendations. It's just I'd like to see and would support a demo plan if that's what's required to reconstruct it. And I would support the staff's recommendations for the siding for the street facing elevation for the time being. That's what I'm understanding.
To clarify, the north elevation is actually the side, that's where it is most damaged. So
Well,
it's
that's what
not,
the most-
yeah, most damage is on the side from what we saw on site visit, so that's the north elevation is the side.
And staff supported this elevation also, which is this the street side we're looking at?
This is the side.
Oh, that is the side,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, so it's this, so our recommendation is from that band board down, demoing, well, I guess above the dam board, the band boards. Band board down, just because of the openings, and of course, with that being open, it would, have some damage underneath.
Hey, Ben, just to let you know, I do know what would be done, the work plan. So if we were able to do the whole thing, what we would do is the demo crews would demo it, each side, then they would brace it horizontally, because you're losing that horizontal bracing with taking the siding out. And then in turn, the framers come, inspect, sister, replace, fire block, inspect, and then commence with the siding. But it'll be, and then, after it's fixed, tie back.
I guess all I'm saying is that I support the sound of that. I just think you need
Put it
to
in-
write that out, document it, talk about the sequence. Let's make sure it's in alignment with the staff recommendation, and I would be on board.
Okay. And just to let you know, like I said, the pictures of the front, like I said, they look good. But I'm telling you, it looked just like that when they put scaffold. And there's probably like still Google aerial views of the scaffolding that was there for like 5-6 years. And they worked on it, like I said, but like that's why I'm afraid of that. And then you saw the hole from the other side, or the south side. So yeah, I appreciate you guys at least listening to.
So just again, demo plan, work plan,
Yep.
scale elevations.
So Shannon, what do you think?
So staff, you are in agreement with the replacement with party board is what?
No, so we are not in agreement with replacement of party board. We are in agreement of
removing most of the siding on this elevation, just to see what the condition of the framing is on the north. And if it needs to be, of course, sistered, braced and stuff like that before new framing or new siding to go on, but we recommend, of course, inline kind of wood drop siding. That's what now, original, it's existing now, sorry. I'm looking at my words. We would also maybe to see what because we can tell that the framing on this side is in pretty bad shape. We can't really see it from the other elevation, so we could also recommend other investigative demo, just to see from what was recently approved on the other elevations, to see if there's any issues with that framing.
Don't forget the fire block.
Oh, yeah,
That's very, very important. And that needs to be done everywhere. Because I mean, that's why the older houses go up like tinder boxes.
Yeah.
You have basically a chute all the way to the roof. So if a fire happens, go to the roof and house is gone.
Okay.
So it's not only just, so just want to make sure that.
Yeah, I guess I don't, so Ben, you're saying you agree with all of that, but not the hardy board, basically.
I guess I just haven't got the hardy board part, but I would probably be okay with hardy products as long as they come close to the existing profiles and orientation. I just think that the main thing is making sure the house doesn't fall down.
Yeah.
So, just a quick clarification, recently, or not clarification, but just an added information. I know recently you had an application similar with drop siding, and I think their Oral does make a drop siding product. I know Harding doesn't, but y'all do. But then,
Did you
yeah,
send me that, bro?
yeah, I can after, meeting, that was.
It's a cement side.
Yeah,
So sorry, that's actually exactly where I was.
Okay.
Started, well, last month.
I'm gonna put that there.
So last month,
Mysterious.
yeah.
Sorry, over Ferguson.
Thank you for steering me in the right place. So last month, we had a similar situation where we just didn't think, even after all of it was removed, I think one facade is gonna stay original wood, and then the rest is gonna be this floral siding, which is at that correct, like teardrop reveal situation. So I think I agree with Ben that let's go ahead and remove the siding and get this stabilized, but then I would, in terms of what goes back on the house, I would be interested in seeing you save what you can of the vertical siding that might actually, not vertical, the horizontal siding that might still be good. To see if we can save any of the facades by kind of piecing it back together. And then going, if that doesn't work, going either way of that new product that we're seeing that gives you that historic look.
Yeah, I'm happy to know it.
I think that's where
And I'm happy to use it.
Paige?
Yeah, I'll say for staff's second recommendation about the exploratory demo, was that essentially just to ensure that the north facade is consistent all the way around?
For the framing.
The condition, yeah, from framing. Yeah, and I think it's pretty safe to say that it probably, since that is we'll probably see consistency throughout the all sides of the building as far as the damage to that frame. So I'll just reiterate that I'm in line with kind of the request that Commissioner Goodman requested about the plan. And then in the same line as far as seeing what we can replace and what we can salvage, and if not, using that like siding as far as the hardy or equivalent siding. So I think it's important, like you were saying, to make sure this guy stands up and is safe.
Are you okay with those ideas?
I mean, yeah, essentially it's moving forward. Like I said, I mean, with this new product information, I mean, it gets us to where we want to be, which is bringing it back 100% to its original purpose. Like I said, all those designs above the window, I plan on, like I say, getting it lasered to the exact same specifications, because I believe on the side of the house it has it, the front doesn't. It's just blank. It's cut like a square. So, I'm paying more to bring it back to like I said, send me a product info. I'll send it to my architect, make sure it's on his schedule of materials being used. And then we'll get a rendition to, of the refurbished on paper for you.
So then we feel comfortable making a motion.
I think that we're actually going to continue.
Does it get continued and you just, how does this work?
I would recommend continuing since we do need the elevation plans, the demo plans and things like that. Since that's being requested today, we'd probably recommend continuing, especially sending the spec sheet to the applicant for the floral siding to, see if that's possibly still an option, and things like that would be our recommendation.
Okay, so it's like continuing, send us the plans and then maybe even, at the next business meeting, if that's all in place, it can kind of move to you to say, okay, move forward with this.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, if we inform of business meetings like that, but yeah. If the commission is okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I just think it's important, Tim, that you do your research on the floral product. Always apply that sheets, and it's to make this move ahead for you. But if not, then we can go back here at the hearing and hopefully have it all by then.
The rear of the house has that was an addition, has smaller reveal, I think it's like 3-inch lap or whatever.
Oh, for the drop siding on the rear.
I could go to the new stuff on the back, so it's all the same stuff. That's all done.
Well, all that being said, I could make a motion to continue. That's
So are you okay with us then making a motion to continue to gather the rest?
Yeah,
of the
that's fine.
information? Okay, sounds good. So that's your motion then?
I move to continue on application. Where are we? 23-11-018 and 87. Say it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion continued. Thanks a lot.
Thank you
Thanks for
very much.
listening. We appreciate it. Okay,
Thank you. I'll send you that information.
so we're moving on to 111 East Second Avenue, IV-23-12-010. Do we have a representative from 111 East Second Avenue, which is New Village Homes, I believe? All right, seeing none, we'll come back to that one. So we'll move on to 186 East Fourth Avenue, IV-23-01-005, 186 East Fourth. I do not see them either. Okay, we're just gonna keep on going. So if you're after them, you're in luck. You're getting caught up. 680 Kerr Street, IV-2402-013. All right. You got a half-hour ball. It's all working out.
It's nice out, I say we just like.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, they're not here, we're.
Every temperature goes up, right? Every degree goes up, the faster we go. All right, will you please raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
Allison Terry?
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon.
Yes.
Great. All right, we'll start with staff and then we'll come right back to you.
Proposed work description, remove existing non-original front porch located at the southwest corner, reduce current size to be set back from the corner of home, replace porch to match existing wood material, new joists, ledger board and posts, decking to match existing with 6-inch 5/4 deck boards, railing to be 36 inches in height with 4x4 posts, top rail and with spaced railing, steps to be, to match existing stairs, steps to be made out of wood and cover the existing concrete steps that were previously under the stairs, and porch to be painted black to match recently removed porch. This is in response to a code violation. Applicant has currently removed the front porch decking along with the wood steps attached, as well as beginning repair on the brick stairs. Applicant did receive a COA from the HBO staff for the repair of inlay high brick and for the brick steps, COA IV-24-02002. We do have the February 13th commission meeting minutes. Would the commissioners like me to read those out? Commissioner comments. Commissioners requested applicant to submit an elevation drawing of the porch to show how the railing will line up with the house. Commissioners recommended the applicant pull the porch back from the corner of the historic brick building about a foot, since it is closer to the historic footprint and it lets the brick corner breathe. Commissioners agree that it would be more appropriate to install a more transparent railing and is in more keeping with the neighborhood. Commissioner Michael Smith recommended applicant use a slope rail instead of a flat rail, since it would help with water runoff. A flat surface would cause the water to sit and cause deterioration issues. Commissioner Kaplanski recommended to include the end post detailing as seen in the railing example on slide 29 from previous submittal. Commissioner Goodman stated he has concern of the repaired porch getting in the way, possibly installing an appropriate roof porch on the property in the future, and wants to make sure the owner does not run into these problems in the future. Commissioners agree that there is a little bit of elbow room to get the deck rebuilt without it getting in the way of the future roof plan. It should be designed and constructed in a way with framing and posts for the future roof of the porch. Commissioner Fergus stated that an architect would be able to help design out the front porch in order to plan it accordingly to install a porch roof in the future. Commissioner requested applicant to submit cross-section detailing of the overall porch with elevation drawings to show the detailing of how the posts connect to grade, if they'll be poured in concrete, and where they'll be placed. Commissioner Plansky recommended applicant to provide a conceptual idea of the roof plan with the revised materials in order to help the commission with their review. At the March business meeting, the commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Clarification on which drawing that is coming for approval. Staff stated that A02 is the design is coming for approval without the roof. Applicant is to provide specifics on decking material. Will it be tongue and groove? Include in the sections provided the decking portion with the joists. Typically on historic porches, there's an overhang of the decking material from the joists with a profile trim piece underneath. This does not appear to be present in the drawing submitted. They asked to provide specifics on the post and how they would switch out the proposed posts for the porch. What would the transition look like? And they asked to provide color name and spec that will be used. Staff recommends that the proposed future porch roof match neighboring roofs configuration. Staff recommendation is to approve application IB 24-02-013 as submitted with any all clarifications to be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with conditions. That the owner will install a porch roof on the property to restore the traditional covered roof or covered porch, future porch roof to match neighboring roofs configuration, and for the requested detailed drawings to be submitted to HPO staff, as well as for the porch flooring to be tongue and groove instead of decking.
All right, so over to you.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, so you're okay with those recommendations?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that sounds great. Do we have thoughts? Fanny, want to start with it?
Yeah, I think that this looks, so you're planning on just building the whole thing at once or?
No, not the roof, just the
Okay,
porch.
cool. Yeah, I mean, to me, I think, and let Paige comment on the architecture, but to me, this looks like a great solution. To.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get started, and I believe it looks like you adjusted for some of our comments from the business meeting with addressing the kind of skirtboard around the porch, as well as thickening up the columns for the 8-inch columns there at the end. So I am in favor of approving this.
Ben?
Wait, so there were changes from our business meetings?
There has not been
Oh, okay.
any revisions
All right.
provided.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say. You've come a long way and it's great, but there are a few things that they're detailed, but they're kind of important to the way architecture works for these old homes. So the main thing is, and I think this kind of got fleshed out in the staff report there, but the deck material should really pass through or under the post, and there should be a band board and there should be a proper skirt. So I think did I understand, Morgan, you included those business meeting comments?
Yes, that was included.
So, so suffice to say that, oh, and one other thing, I think you'll be happier if instead of having 6x6 posts, which are often full of knots and checks, like cracks and so forth, that you're better off with a 4x4 post with proper trim boards around it. And you also have the benefit of making the post a little slimmer, which is typically more desirable anyway. But it's just important that that the deck material pass underneath the post or have the appearance that it passes under the post, and that there's some, attempt to make a band board and a skirt.
So, are you comfortable with staff working through that?
I think so, but, notwithstanding everybody else's opinion of that.
Staff, would you comfortable working with the applicant to facilitate those?
To get those additional details. And of course, if the commission would like, we could also do a subcommittee too, but again, we are confident that that's what.
Yeah, so basically, we're talking about a couple refinements to the way that construction would take place. I don't think it fundamentally changes the design of your porch. So we're happy to explain those further, or if you feel comfortable with those and you're okay with making those slight changes, you could just work with staff. You wouldn't have to come back to us then.
Okay.
Does that work?
Sure.
Yeah. It'll be approvals with conditions and we can work through it to get to the COA.
Over email and.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great. Like that.
All right, sounds good. So Ben, you okay making that?
Yeah, I
recommendation?
move on application 24-02-013, 680 Kerr Street, that the application be approved with the modifications that the deck material pass underneath the posts, the corner posts, or have the illusion of, that the deck have a band board and a skirt, and that the posts have a shoe mold of some sort to allow the carpenter to accomplish some of these details. That's kind of a nuance. And the applicant be able to consider a 4x4 post with trim boards so that they can cover up the anomalies of treated lumber.
If that's not required.
That is not required,
Gotcha.
but preferred.
Before we second, the other thing that we had recommended was to do tongue and groove instead of just
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
decking.
right.
That's just decking proposed
Yeah.
right now.
I would add that to my motion.
I'll definitely
Here,
have
here.
longevity for you as far as move the boards.
What
moving
is that?
around.
Sorry.
So decking is, when they apply decking, it's just kind of butted up. The tongue and groove is when it has like a slot and it connects together. It has a connection piece.
It'll be stronger.
However, we're going to roll. Come on, it's going to be definitely better.
We can send you a detail.
Okay, so with all those, have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Great. We work with staff.
Thank you, guys.
Hopefully it'll be in good shape. Looks good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so, let's see, saw somebody come in. Is that somebody from are you 111 East Second? Nope. Okay, that one is not yet, so great. Okay, so now we are next on the agenda is number 6, 1098 Say Avenue, ID 2302014. Gentlemen, once you get seated, we'll get your hands raised and we'll state your names for the record. Start with you. Start with you with your name for the record.
Matt Jackson.
Yeah.
Rob Talama.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony to the best of your ability this afternoon.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, we'll start with staff.
Proposed work description. Oh, sorry, I was on the wrong application for a second.
We're at 6, right?
Yes, we're on it. Moving around. Proposed work description, remove existing non-original damaged siding on all elevations, which HPO staff has determined has been replaced over time. Install new 5-inch hardy board cedar mill horizontal siding with 3 different color options. Option 1 is khaki brown siding with iron gray trim. Option 2 is caramel siding with beige trim. And option 3 is iron gray siding with black trim. Install new hardy board trim, fascia, and soffit as well. The following is taken from the unapproved February 13 County Village Commission meeting minutes. Commissioner comments. Commissioners recommended applicant to pursue a more traditional siding approach since they unanimously would not be in support of vertical siding. Commissioners agreed that since all siding has been replaced on the property, they would be in support of installing synthetic siding. Some commissioners stated they would be fine with vertical siding within the gable end as currently seen. Commissioners stated that they would be fine with the darker colors proposed, but to make the shade slightly different for the trim. This color would only need to be slightly different from the body. Commissioners stated the vertical siding would be appropriate for new constructions, but not in this application since it is an historic property. And they recommended the trim to be restored to historic trim detailing per city code and guidelines.
At the March business meeting, commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Commissioners stated that it appears the example provided are on new construction additions. HPO staff had stated they verified that most have been new construction with board and batten finish. They recommended the applicant be prepared to provide revisions with horizontal siding like for like. Commissioners stated the proposed dark color will make the building look more contemporary even if horizontal is installed. Requested applicant to provide the updated color scheme for the body trim. Applicant has since revised the application to propose 5-inch horizontal siding with 3 different color options instead of the vertical. The staff recommendation, we recommend approval of application IV 24-02014 as submitted with a 5-inch horizontal siding revision, and any all clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with the following conditions: to install wood trim, windows, doors, corner board, frieze, and fascia per the recommended sizing within the guidelines and city code, and to select a smooth finish instead of a cedar mill. And basis of staff rec is city code 311611, standards for operation.
Okay, sounds good. Any thoughts, comments on your?
Yes, but I'll let you guys go first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess the smooth, we did the cedar mill, the smooth is fine. We have a like for like through Hardy as well as smooth, and it's the same, pretty much the same width as it's on the house right now.
Yeah.
So that is fine.
That's fine. Okay, great. Appreciate that. Who wants to start this one?
I guess I'll do it again. I'm fine with all of these options. We're not allowed giving preference on color. So I'm allowed, I can say I like the color green, but like, it doesn't have to do with this house. But I think that this is a more appropriate solution and it looks good to me.
That's good, Ben.
Yeah, I have no opinion about the color, so that's your choice. I think that you've done the right thing, or at least to the extent that it's the more appropriate solution to have horizontal siding. The trim is pretty important, so I'm just going to make the request that you submit a scale drawing both front and section through the window trim and the door trim, so that and part of the reason I say it's because in your rendering, the top trim board looks too narrow. And so
You're talking about where the gable is? The top.
I think the top on the windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it could be just.
So I think staff will be able to help you on the
Quick extension.
portions of that to the side trim. So that said, I am supporting staff's recommendation, and with those comments, we would support a motion to approve this.
That's good. Paige?
I have nothing additional. Good support as well.
Okay, so motion, you're making, is there anything else you're okay with?
Yeah, for vertical siding as an option, it was saying that, this room recommended against it because it was not appropriate for this historic area. And something that was brought up, we did submit some photos of houses that do have vertical siding on it. It was stated that those are on new builds. Some of them were on new builds, but some of them were not on new builds. And so they are existing in this neighborhood already. And I was just curious because, vertical siding, I might be the first to ask for the artesian vertical siding by James Hardy, but I certainly won't be the last. One of the reasons I'm the first is because it's one of James Hardy's newer products. And when we hear the word new in this room, that's a scary word. Because we hear contemporary or we hear modern when we hear the word new. But it was actually created by James Hardy in response to their clients asking to replace their historically vertical houses with something that would last the test of time. So it's not something that was created in response to make something more modern. It's actually to replace something like this on a historic home. And so, there was a time where this room didn't approve James Hardy siding at all, but then we got new information and we evolved and you allowed and approved for James Hardy siding horizontal. And so I'm just wondering I mean, if you make me go with horizontal, you're essentially saving me from myself. It's a far more expensive product to go with the vertical stuff. I mean, you're gonna save me like 30 grand just by making me do that on the cheaper, horizontal stuff. But I just am curious if it's possible that this room is maybe overlooking the possibility that this is a potentially historic representation of a home. It's going to elevate my house significantly, increase the home value as well as the neighborhood. And I'm just wondering if it's possible that we can consider the vertical siding.
So I'll give you a quick response on my end and then, let staff speak to that. I will assure you the one thing we are not afraid of is the word new, since we have basically created in the time I've been on this commission, twice the amount of residential units in this neighborhood that previously existed. We have a lot of new stuff. We get it. Like we have a lot of new stuff, arguably more new stuff per capita than any other neighborhood in all of Columbus. So we get it. We know new. What we are trying to constantly balance is maintaining historic character with all the new things that are going in. When you go in anything that's a new build, we have considered every single product that exists. And we've probably been, many products have been brought into us. And oftentimes we've tried those out in various different configurations, almost always on new builds. On historic homes, we really defer to staff's interpretation of the historic guidelines and the way that the Secretary of Interior would apply those. Now, we certainly see a lot of historic homes that do have vertical elements that would include the gables and like that last home, that weird bandboard, which I honestly think is an ugly and kind of bad detail, but it is historic. And so if it exists, we try to recreate it. If it was up to me, I think it was crazy that anybody ever tried to do that in the first place, because it's basically like guaranteeing that 50 years later, it's going to rot out and be terrible. But that they did it and it's historic. And so we're charged with preserving that. So honestly, from my perspective, it's about preserving what the staff believes, who has training in this, is the most historically accurate for the individual building. And that's really all it's about. So that's it from my perspective. Steph, I don't know if you want to speak to that more specifically with regard to this house.
No, we would agree with all that, that's what we did with our assessments. We went through the files and made sure, we found evidence of a photo of it having, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Is this? I can't think of the material right now. Wow, I'm blanking. I apologize. But
Yeah.
deciding,
Yeah, it's
deciding that one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but it was.
So that second siding they put up there, whatever that shape type.
Yeah,
wood
the
style,
shape.
Asbestos?
is that
Yeah, it was the asbestos stuff. Thank you.
well, obviously,
Thank you, Commissioner.
that was well before the commission. That was probably in the 50s or 40s.
Yes, but underneath was the original horizontal siding. And I think over time they were, they did try to repair, replace in kind, and of course, over time just kept replacing in kind. So we don't have the original anymore on it. But since we have evidence of it having horizontal, and that would be more of a typical, not saying that there isn't some board of batten, some historic board of batten, but on this one in particular, there was not, we didn't find evidence of historic board of batten. So now we do use historic board of batten on new construction, and the examples that were submitted, those were new additions on historic buildings. But you can see like the historic building itself still has the horizontal siding on it, with the new addition having board of batten. And that helps differentiate the structures to show kind of the phases that it has gone through. But I would agree with Commissioner Sudi on, following our guidelines and National Park Service and codes and things like that.
So I don't know if that's a satisfying answer.
No,
But it is our answer.
Yeah,
It is my answer.
yeah. So the houses that do have it, and it does exist in the neighborhood. I guess why can't my house have it if it does exist in this neighborhood?
I mean, the examples that were submitted, we did go through each file to see when it was maybe constructed. For this one as an example, this is a new addition and it was approved.
Yeah, not this one, but there's a couple other ones that aren't new addition.
Basically said you didn't have the COA.
Not this.
Yeah, some of them we didn't have COA, so that was probably before the commission was founded in the 80s. I can't remember the exact date. In the 80s. That's potential, so they might have been installed maybe during like the 70s and things
But
like
that
that.
was a bad example. I don't think we should use it as a good example of anything. Ooh.
But there was a time during the 70s where vertical siding was installed as well. But that was before our guidelines and code for specifics on this.
Yeah, we also have to be consistent in how we apply our standards, and not just our standards, but our standards are derived from the National Park Service. So if we just said, well, this house looks cool in vertical siding, so let's do it. Then we've completely gotten rid of the point of being a historic preservation body. So that's the other thing. We can't kind of pick and choose how it's being capricious on our end to pick and choose which houses we do or do not apply our standards. And therefore, if we find a home such as yours that historically was vertical or horizontal, we're gonna say, okay, it needs to be vertical or horizontal. That's just that's how our guidelines work and how we have to work for us to carry any type of legal authority, and not be capricious in nature.
So my house currently does have vertical siding on it already.
Right, not historic.
Historic, yes, like the stuff we're replacing is vertical on some of it.
Well, it's not historic.
Yeah, the original siding, that's what we're saying.
Oh, I
Yes,
see.
that's what we consider the historic characteristic of the house, how it was originally intended. Now, again, some things we like better that were the way they were originally, some I like less, like the band board issue I was talking about before. I don't personally care for that as a detail. I wouldn't buy a house that had that on there. However, if I did, I would be required to restore it because it was originally part of the house, and we can show that it was based on historical photographs and evidence of the construction of the house. So we're just trying to restore these to as best as we can is what their original intent was when they were originally built. That's it. Yeah, we're not trying to make up random things or come up with arbitrary decisions. It's like, okay, we know factually this had vertical or horizontal siding originally, so we're gonna restore that. That's it. So if you bought a house that originally had vertical siding, then there'd be a different story. And certainly if you built something new, that's a totally different story.
So you're never allowed to change any of the
It's
sides.
not that you're never allowed to change. We are trying to figure out what the original was. And when we clearly can, then we, as a board, feel, at least our current configuration as a board, and everybody can speak for themselves, that we want to follow the recommendations of staff, and staff is following the recommendation of Secretary of Interior for historic.
But sometimes you can change the siding from one thing to another thing. Like if you wanted to put brick on there, you can put.
Well, we would not, we would not,
You
we
would-
would absolutely not prevent. In fact, we just had probably if you want to look at the minutes and the meetings from the last 3 months, we've gone through a lot of siding. And that's specifically, we've even been debating whether the siding itself is deteriorated enough to be replaced with a different material, even if it looks the same.
So you can never, like if you can determine something was original, then you would never approve of something to be changed or updated. If the homeowner likes the way something looks better, you
What I
just
can say
never
is
do
our
that.
charge is not to follow what a homeowner's aesthetic is. Ours is to follow what the Secretary of Interior's guidelines for historic preservation on historic buildings. So I don't want to like blow you off because we just have a lot of cases to get to. I don't know what else we can tell you. That's our charge. That's the charge of all the historic commissions, and that's what we're trying to uphold.
And additionally, our city code 311611 standards for alteration, that's what we're basing our recommendation on as well.
The ones that
So
were
it's,
written in 1990s.
no, the city code, this is up to date, this is our city code for the city specifically. The guidelines are what was written in the 90s, and we follow that as well. But additionally with our city code, which is on our city website. But we are following the standards for alteration, those 12 elements from that.
And as people who still write these codes
Yeah.
for our clients, we're consultants. Nothing has changed, and if I were gonna rewrite that document, it'd be the same.
Yeah, just because it hasn't been rewritten in
Preservation.
the last 20 years doesn't mean.
But you guys do evolve and you.
We do.
We do, and I think I can't be any more clear about this. We are trying to preserve the original.
I hear you.
That's it. I don't know what to tell you. And if you disagree with that, that's fine. That's what we are sitting up here charged to do.
Gotcha.
And maybe this will evolve in 20 years to not do that anymore.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is that's what we're set up here to do.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to continue to do until we get guidance. That's not.
Yeah,
the right track.
if I may, I'm just gonna say that you are going for an approval. I mean, you have an approval, and I suppose you could always come back with another application if you find some compelling information that we didn't see this time around, or you can appeal this decision. So
How do I appeal this decision? Yeah.
you can talk with
If I
staff.
disagree with this, then how do I appeal?
So you would have to get a denial today, and then you can appeal. There's 3 avenues to do so. You can come forward to the commission again and state your case. You can come as a mediation, and you can also go to the Board of Commission of Appeals. But they base They base that off of possibly extenuating circumstances, but they also follow the city code and guidelines to make those decisions as well, with additional information for said extenuating circumstances, which I can't remember the exact.
Like typically financial
Yes,
hardship.
financial
things like
hardship.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, or if they feel like we've applied the standards in an arbitrary or capricious way, which the problem, that's
Yeah.
what Shannon's getting at. If we start doing it sort of whenever anybody just wants it, then
Yeah.
anyone can come and say, well, you just let that guy do it, you wouldn't let me do it. And our whole point is we're trying to consistently apply these standards to the best of our ability. So I can't advise you whether or not you get approved or overturned or whatever, that's up to you. All I can tell you is we're trying to be very fair about the way we apply these across the board. And if we're failing at that, then, I can't speak to that.
Would you like us to continue this and you change your application to vertical and?
Well, it seems like this room is going to say no to that if I did that.
Right, but
That would
you're
make
gonna need
sense.
a denial in order to appeal. So I'm just saying, if you're hunting for an appeal, it's probably best that you go for something that we're going to deny so that you can go to your appeal. Or we can approve this tonight and you can think about it for a month.
Yeah, you can either do this or you can come back with a new application and add vertical siding.
Yeah.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
and we don't hate vertical siding. We're just trying to preserve.
No, I know you don't. You improve it on new builds. Only. Right, yeah, I'm following. Yeah.
We approve a lot of things on new builds we don't on historic homes, and that's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
So,
I'd like to get this approved, the horizontal, and then if I want to appeal it, then I'll get a denial next month.
all right, sounds good.
Then if it pleases the chair, I'll make a motion to approve application 24-02-014, 1098 Say Avenue, with given the application we see here tonight, horizontal siding without any stipulation of color, and with the stipulation that the applicant submit scale drawings of the window and door details.
And then it's the smooth as recommended.
And the smooth, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so you do an application approval and then just talk to staff if you want to take it a different direction, and they can give you a far more rigorous explanation of the appeals process than we were able to just outline for you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we on this agenda?
Steven, we're back to,
I believe the applicant for 186 East Fourth has arrived.
Okay, 186 East 4. And that is for the record, IV 23-01-005.
Thank you for being flexible and going backwards a little bit.
Well, it made the people that were after you in the agenda happy, so they'll probably be pleased with the fact that they have to check that. All right, whenever you're ready, if you could both state or raise your right hand and state your names for the record.
Joel, Roby.
Eric Sherrill.
And you both promise to tell the truth to the best of your ability this afternoon.
Yes.
All right, staff.
This will be a long staff report, so just bear with me for everyone. Proposed work description, new construction, construct a new 2-story single-family home on the vacant portion of existing lot with the structure to face Greenwood Avenue. Garage is to be attached into front Greenwood. Materials include hardy cement 6-inch exposure lap siding with smooth finish, hardy cement vertical siding with batten, smooth finish. Roof shingles to be GAF slate line, English gray, dimensional shingle from approved shingles list. 6-inch K-style black aluminum gutters. I think the roofing material is updated, so I do apologize about that. Windows to be Pella Impervia casement windows from the approved windows list. Masonry Creative Minds carved rectangle colored knapsack. Garage door to be Clopay modern steel garage door, flush panel, 7 foot by 16 foot, concrete drive as well. Site to include black aluminum channel style fence post with stained horizontal cedar boards. Existing historic garage fronting forth is to be maintained. Additionally, some of the trees have recently been removed from the site and a code violation has been submitted. And then there's the variance recommendations. Would the commission like me to read the variance recommendations out loud?
I don't need them, but do others need
No.
Okay. Variance recommendations are listed. And then the following is taken from the January 30th commission meeting minutes. The commissioners like me to read those minutes out.
I do not.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
At the March business meeting, the commissioners made the following statements and recommendations: improvements to previous submittal, and recommended adding additional trees to the property. Staff recommends to approve and recommend application ID 24-01-005 as submitted with any all clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of a certificate with the following conditions: to install additional canopy trees to replace the trees that were removed prior to approval. Install maybe a permeable paver surface for the driveway instead of proposed concrete. Final paint colors to be submitted to HPO staff for final approval. And this is the update, I apologize. TPO or EPDM roof to be gray since white is not an approved color. And revised site plan drawings to not include the proposed addition on the existing historic garage since this is not part of the application at this time. The basis of staff rec is City Code 3116.12, standards for new construction. And that's all. That's faster than I thought, sorry.
not too bad. Okay. Over to you, gentlemen.
I just need clarification on the footprint, the proposed footprint of the building that is the existing garage that fronts east fourth with regard to the variance application or the variance request. Maybe I wasn't clear on what you said at the last part.
Oh, well, do you mind going to the site plan? In the drawing here, it shows this addition on the back.
Oh,
And I don't believe that's a part of the building currently. That was part of.
no,
Okay,
but it is part of the footprint that requires approval of the variance application. So the variance application includes just the footprint of that darker gray spot so that we don't have to go through the variance process in the future. Does that make sense?
it does.
But we will obviously still come back for any, it's not granting a permit or architectural approval of whatever's going to be built there. It's just defining a footprint for a lot coverage and setbacks.
Okay,
Just want to make sure that was clear.
Gotcha.
thank you for that clarity.
I also wanted to note that the side yard setback for area B has been removed from the variance application. It was not required. It was a miscommunication with regard to the height of the new construction building.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else you want to add or talk about before we talk about it ourselves?
I don't think so, other than I think we did the best we could to apply comments from last month about about the verticality and the massing and the setbacks and things like that. So
Who wants to dive in?
I'll start. I think that you have responded to us. I appreciate the setback and the sort of portions sort of beginning to emulate the other homes there. I wanted to give you some liberty to, if you wanted to explore steel here to lighten up the mass in that opening, I guess really steel on both levels, I'd be open to that. That is not a stipulation tonight. I just thought that you might appreciate that, given this the concrete block nature of this and how it might go with steel. Otherwise, my main stipulation, because there's so much lot coverage, is to change this driveway from concrete to permeable pavers. And otherwise, I will support the variances and the design that's proposed.
would you find a California driveway acceptable in lieu of permeable pavers?
Clarify what that is.
California driveway is where you have the
Strips.
strips.
So they letting you do that now? Are they, okay. I know at some point in the past, we suggested that and we granted some issues with that with the code, but I didn't know what the
So
parameters were.
just so long-term maintenance of permeable pavers is not something that a single-family homeowner can really do, nor would ever have the technical ability to do. So if the intent of this commission is to have less impervious surface, California's strip style driveways are a more effective method to achieve it, because
I don't know if
I would
totally
see
agree
that
with that,
diagram.
but I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't personally know, so I'd have to see a diagram to fully get on board, but it sounds like it could be a potential solution. So support would have to come without the driveway at all till I saw that person.
Understood. Other thoughts? Paige?
Yeah, to say thanks for all the exploration. I think we've landed on a project that will fit very nicely in the neighborhood and the overall goal being complementing the historic homes nearby. So really appreciate you guys working with us. And agreed about the trying to limit that lot coverage for this area, as well as just the replacement of trees that staff said, but I'm on board for staff's recommendations.
Shannon?
Yeah, I feel the same. Thanks for working through it, and I'm okay with the California driveway, personally. But agree that I don't think it should be concrete just because you are, especially with the footprint on the back building, you're just gonna have a lot of lot coverage between the
Yep.
two structures.
Great. Yeah, I think I appreciate that you sort of embrace the industrial characteristics. A couple of things I want to say in the record, just to make sure that we kind of establish why, if we approve this, why we've moved in this direction. One thing about this garage doors, I know, that's certainly heartburn for me, and I think for a lot of us, having garage doors that access directly from the street. And, knowing there were previous plans that were in different configuration because there were different circumstances with property ownership in adjacent lots, we had hoped maybe we could service those in a different way, and that didn't happen, and that's okay. These things evolve over time. The thing I want to say about Greenwood is that it is a different type of street than most of the streets that we have within Italian Village. One of the things about it is that it's sort of finite. It does jump over it jumps over the impound lot, basically, and then starts again, but really it's almost like a completely different street on that side of Summit. So I think the characteristics of Greenwood really are from Hamlet until it goes over into the industrial area, which, not to say it won't someday connect into future areas there. But I think we have the opportunity to define this in a little bit of a different way, because it's the one street right behind Fifth, which has been mostly devoid now of any historic character along the big chunks of that area. They're sort of one-story industrial buildings. And we have allowed a mixture of garage access with industrial style buildings throughout the portion of Greenwood that's on the other side of Fourth. And I do think we do have some of that industrial that creeps a little bit into this block as well before Hamlet. I think you could argue that on Fourth, the side of Seventh Son has an industrial characteristic, as well as, of course, that existing garage that's across the street. And you've got a little bit of that extending to with the BB grill and those kind of things. So for all those reasons, I think that the Greenwood is one of the rare places in Italian Village where access off the street curve to garages is acceptable. I also like that you've really kept this to be a very simple building. I think it'll be effective, and I think it's cool looking, and it also, what I thought you had before was like kind of an unholy marriage of industrial and traditional. I would have been okay with a completely traditional building, and I'm okay with this completely different kind of more warehouse style building. And I think you've achieved one of the two good solutions that you could, and so I approve. I'm willing to approve this as well. That's all I have. Also, I do think that one of the other things about it is I like the material choices that you've gone with, because it does augment that industrial characteristics of it, and doesn't try to put sort of traditional housing materials onto a more modern industrial style building. And so overall, I think it's good. I definitely support whatever solution you can come up with that reduces the imperviousness with that driveway. I think it'd be great if you can do those strip driveways. I think that's a cool way to do it. And I definitely support that. And again, we just need to see the detail on that and what you're gonna put in between, if you're gonna do rock or if you're gonna do some sort of, I guess you could also plant it and just mow it too, whatever kind of you decide to do in there. But something that's pervious.
We've been using a lemon thyme. It's a hardy, drivable. I mean, it's not intended to be driven on every day, but it won't be.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're inclined not to vote for this based on the driveway, then we'll proceed with the pervious pavers and then come back if we need
I
to.
think we can vote with a condition that I'd like to, because I want to see this option. Like, I'm actually very
Yeah,
interested.
can we just approve it without the driveway and then have them come back with the
Yeah.
driveway? And
I think so.
Yeah, that was a good recommendation. We could just separate this portion.
I guess I was just trying to proceed with a permeable paver driveway, and then if if the owner decides that he would like to come back with the
Okay, I got it.
California style driveway.
Yeah, I guess that's fine.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. That's it.
I'm very interested in that as an option.
Yeah.
So,
But I think we'll be back, to be honest.
okay, sounds good. All right, any other questions or thoughts? Anything you have from us?
No, thank you for working with us.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Before we do start crafting a motion for this, how did the commissioners feel about maybe additional trees or canopy trees to be added? What was removed? If there's a certain recommendation or would like it to be included with the motion, just a thought.
I'm trying to see. Go ahead. Sorry, Kate.
I was just gonna say, to remind us, staff's recommendation was just to replace the amount that was removed. Is that correct?
Most of the amount, I know there's a variety of canopy trees and then of course, some younglings or younglings, is that correct? Trees.
Saplings?
Young trees, saplings, yeah.
Younglings.
Some younger trees there that were removed. So of course, those being removed we'd be fine with it, but some of the, there were maybe 2 or 3 or
Yeah.
correct of canopy trees.
I'm less worried about like for like as opposed to getting the right tree in the right spot. So I think what I would propose is that you can, and it's gonna be a relatively small tree, but if you could find, if you can propose something in that corner of the lot to at least start to give a little bit of a green edge, and it could be, as they say, the columnar tree.
Which corner?
Oh, I guess is this one? I guess
The
it's the
street side corner?
northwest corner, I guess.
Yep.
Basically, I don't want something that like takes up your whole thing. You can't see your house. But there's a lot of species that grow pretty vertically and,
Yeah.
certainly.
Hornbeam.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. So, work with staff to just put something in there. At least they'll start to give us a little bit of a green edge to make up for that. I will say, we're gonna lose some trees on this. A lot of what we are, I guess, affectionately calling saplings are just kind of scrub trees that grow up on the edges. I don't feel like they have a huge contributing factor to that. So that's my opinion anyway. I don't know what other people think.
I support that.
Support it.
Okay, so you're all right with that?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
So are we saying a landscape plan or just a?
I think work with staff to just select the tree and the location in there. There's not gonna be a whole lot of options. It's a pretty small spot. So.
And just 2 more items, I do apologize,
Yeah.
I read a little list here. But of course, final paint color be submitted to staff. And then for the TPO or APDM to be gray and not white, just to clarify the gray or black.
I'm sorry, what is that gray or black?
The TPO or APDM rubber roofing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I lost you. You lost me on that. It's gotcha.
Yeah, the material sheet says gray preferred, I said, or white, but. So white's not allowed.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll get you better, some reflective. Okay, so do I have a motion of all that? And then we need 2 motions because we need a recommendation on variances as well.
Yes.
Well, I'll move to recommend the variances
And that's as written.
as written.
Okay,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? Okay, those are recommended. Easy, yay, good luck with those. And then on the COA.
I'll move to approve application 04 IB 2401005 with the stipulations that staff just reviewed.
And pervious pavement.
And pervious pavement the driver will have a pervious, I almost said impervious, pervious pavement, situation.
And then Steph, you got the addition of the tree and all the other things.
Yes.
Like that. Okay, sounds good. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
One last question.
Yeah, sure.
So the front house on Fourth,
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out a garage door for that.
I forgot to ask about that.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
it's just unsecured. I've now got stuff in there, so I don't know what to do.
You know, I don't know, staff, I was, we talked about this a couple months ago. So I almost feel, in my opinion, there's like three ways to go, and you can all tell me which ones of those make sense or if they're crazy. Like, I think there's like the totally like historic-y looking wood, thing that looks like the wood, and I thought that it actually opens like that, but the
Right.
one that used to open
Right.
like that, it looks like that, or plain, just like gray steel industrial, or kind of lean into the other direction and something that's more modernistic, if you will, like one of the translucent glass doors that gives it sort of that old new dichotomy. So those are the three things I was thinking as I was walking past there. What does the commission think would make sense?
I would agree with all those things, except that if you're not gonna, I don't.
No,
think
it
you
would
should
actually open like.
No, I'm actually saying that you
Oh.
shouldn't emulate that. It should be that or.
Okay, not do it. Yeah, that would be cool.
I think it should probably just be steel. I think that, certainly no one's gonna go open it to get their car in there. And I would prefer the
What if it was
glass.
a Model T?
That's actually true. Or Model T then. But I assume that this is not a retail location. It'll be a house and they're gonna wanna grab the glass.
Well, I don't touch that.
Because this is the same address, can we get a motion to approve exactly the same door that's on the application for the other houses?
That's just plain steel, right?
It's a flush steel door.
Yeah, it's the, so sorry.
It's
It's
the,
the Clopay modern steel garage.
Yeah.
With flush.
I was trying to catch up with the question, but
Oh, yeah, if you go to Fourth, you can see it on. I don't know if you can catch it on here. I'll go back to it.
What we could recommend, since it's not a part of this application at this time, is that if the commission would be fine with that, it could be a staff approved item, so it'd still need a application and all that sent in. Just to have that record of that being its own.
Here it is, right here.
It's a garage door spin.
There it is. Oh, yeah. I mean,
This
it's
is the
built that.
garage.
would the color be, well, I guess it's on up to it.
Well, it is a bit steel. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just, I mean, if the commission's okay with a staff approval of one of those two choices, the glass or the flush steel, like what's on the approved drawings for the houses on the other side, then that's enough, because I know he wants to put a door in.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
personally okay with either of those. I'm thinking of it like frosted glass, not clear glass, not like.
Yeah.
Not like,
I'm thinking it should be a coffee shop with some clear glass.
but that's just me. What do you think?
No, I'm okay, anything that's, I think both of those options are simple enough that don't take away from the character of the garage, so I'd be in favor as well.
I
Staff,
just request you submit a cut sheet to staff.
yes.
Kevin?
Is that a?
Yeah, that's fine. We can include that if you're okay with that.
I believe so,
I know it's a little out.
That's
I
fine.
apologize.
No, it's fine.
We have talked about it before, which is why I feel more comfortable doing it. I mean, we did have this discussion in a couple meetings ago.
And I'll need to just check with the preservation officer, James Goodwin, because originally, when he did email me about it, we did discuss it, and he did recommend, not like a carriage house per se, but, with Clopay, they have like a chevron type thing, so it kind of looks like a more 1920s, 30s door. And that would be his recommendations, but I can, of course, talk to him about it, based off this conversation with the commission, so,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
With all those, do I have a second?
Well, aren't that,
Oh, I
are
don't
we
think
moving
we're
this to
done.
staff?
Oh, that was just a staff.
Yeah, that should go, we're just a new application, so I have.
Our opinions.
All right.
Staff.
I love it. Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we are moving to, and I don't think we ever had 111 second come in, correct? Okay, so now we are on to 55 something, 55 East Lincoln, 55 East Lincoln. It's IV-24-03-007. All right, sir, when you are seated and ready, would you raise your right hand and state your name for the record?
John,
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony this evening?
yes.
Okay, great. Over to staff and then back to you.
So the proposed work description is to replace existing windows, 5 on front, 1 on west, and 4 on east with new Marvin Ultimate windows, or another window from the approved windows list. Windows to be black exterior cladding. 4 out of the 10 windows on the property are replacements, while the other 6 are original for the property. Additionally, is to remove existing aluminum siding portion underneath the deck on the south elevation of home. Install new hardy board and primed boral batten where aluminum siding is proposed to be removed in order to close off the existing door opening. Siding to be painted Sherwin-Williams iron ore, as well as to install the hardy board and boral batten siding to close off existing window opening on east elevation. Staff analysis, HPO staff had conducted a site visit on February 22nd. At the site visit, we had determined that 6 out of the 10 windows are the original historic windows to the property. The siding in the rear underneath the aluminum siding appears to be historic as well. We informed the applicant that we recommend restoring the existing windows as well as restoring the portion of existing siding if the aluminum siding was to be removed. Additionally, we informed applicant that we typically do not recommend closing up existing openings, though they are closed off from the interior. Typically, if an opening is proposed to be closed from the interior, we typically recommend installing a fixed door, an existing door opening, as well as installing fixed shutters and existing window openings. At the March business meeting, the commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Application will need further discussion at the hearing. Commissioners asked if the 2/2 configuration are original to the property. Commissioners stated that they typically try to avoid covering up existing openings. Applicant has provided floor plan indicating the window and door to be covered and if they are covered from the interior, which applicant has supplied. And they asked HBO staff if the windows appear to be repairable. Applicant has submitted the floor plan to indicate where the rear door and window have been blocked off from the interior. They've also indicated that it is now currently a single unit dwelling. And, sorry. Staff recommends to continue application IV 24-03-007 in order for applicant to update the proposed work to be more in line with staff's recommendations and City Code 311611 standards for alteration. The conditions being to restore the existing 6 existing historic windows on the property, replace the 4 previously replaced windows with proposed windows from the approved windows list, retain aluminum siding, maintain existing window openings and install fixed shutters on the east elevation instead of the proposed board and batten siding, and maintain existing door opening and install a fixed door in the existing door opening on the south elevation. Basis of staff rec is 311611 standards for alteration.
Okay, over to you.
I guess I don't have a lot to say before hearing more opinions on it. I think the shutters and the window on the side isn't a big deal to us. The door on the rear doesn't make sense as a door. So I don't know how it really is a door as far as we know when we bought the house. It's just a open piece of our exterior wall. So just looking for a solution that's gonna look nice and gonna be reasonable. This is what our contractor recommended to kind of make it look as uniform as possible. So shutters and windows isn't a big deal. We'd love to do that board and batten in that back section. If that's what staff was recommending. And then for windows, I guess we're really wanting to spend some money on improving the building, improving this structure and getting some more energy efficient windows. And really, if we need to change the orientation to be 2/2, that is acceptable. Just wanting to ideally replace these with recommended windows, with approved historical windows.
Okay, so let's break this down. There's a lot of pieces here. So we've got whether or not they will be allowed to replace the windows is one thing. And then there's the material for the exterior that you're recommending is board and batten.
We're not recommending the board and batten, just we're recommending to keep the aluminum siding as is now and just to close off that door opening. and of course, any trim that's necessary. If the siding is to be removed, it looks like there is original clapboard siding underneath, so that would have to be a little bit, investigate a little bit further. And if it is original, we, recommend to restore what's there if it's in good condition. But that would be our recommendation if that was to be removed.
Okay, so then what about the door, whatever the openings are, what's the opinion on those again? If you could just restate that.
Yeah, of course, Mr. Shooty. So this used to be 2-unit dwelling. I'm assuming the other doorway was added in an earlier point in time, maybe not original, or maybe a second access. So we would just recommend to install kind of a faux door in that opening, just to keep that opening, that historic opening. And add any door trim around it, but it'll be closed off from the inside, so it wouldn't be accessible. And then the window on the east elevation to install fixed shutters to keep that opening instead of closing it off.
Gotcha. But we're thinking this is not a historic door, it just has been there for a long time.
Yes.
Okay, so what does anyone think about any of the portions of this?
I'll start with the windows, I guess. I think that's the easier one for us to address, which is, which is that, yes, we do have an approved window list, but that's to replace things that are not, original to the home. So for example, my historic home, someone put in vinyl windows everywhere. And now when I want to replace windows, I have to use a window off the approved window list. I can't go put in another vinyl window. That's what that approved list is for, and it's also for new builds. If you have fully operational historic windows, you need to, there's never been a time when we've said, yeah, tear those out and go put something from the window list on there. If it's financial issue, go test for lead, and will all get replaced and repaired fully for free. So there's really, especially when it comes to historic operational windows, there's absolutely no reason right now to not do it, because the US government is paying everyone to fix them, to preserve them. So that is just probably not gonna fly. So for me, that's why windows are easy. And then obviously the shutter thing, we would never close up a historic opening on regardless of where it is, so.
What
We
do
preserve.
you think about the door? That's a later.
I think that later addition door, the problem is like where I wouldn't be opposed to not keeping that opening, I guess, but slapping, I mean, you've kind of done yourself a disservice with the Photoshop of the boarding batten. Because like, to me, all of a sudden I start asking all these questions. Well, like, how is it gonna end? And does it make sense that it ends underneath that porch? And how's that gonna relate to the rest of the house? So you need to, if that's something you wanna do and not just put in an old wood historic door and call it a day where that opening is, which would be cheaper and easier. If you wanna do something like this, you're gonna have to show us something of exactly how it would actually look in real life.
I mean, yeah, if I may speak to that.
Good.
I mean, you put end trim pieces on this right here and make it, fully enclose the envelope of the building. And we can have our contractor do a better
Yeah, I think that's what
better
you're saying.
diagram, if that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, it would need to be like, yes, in principle, it sounds like, oh yeah, you would just put a trim board, but when you start looking at the diagrams, it's not that simple, because then it's relating to all the other doors on the house. And so, yes, I guess, we would need a lot of detail for that. And again, I think that's a very expensive solution for a easy problem.
And to just clarify, there is existing wood horizontal clapboard siding underneath.
Yeah, and so that gets us into, are we allowing you to do something we're not allowing anyone else to do, which is slap on hardy board onto perfectly good clapboard siding, even if it's on one section. It just gets really, really sticky in terms of how we apply our standards. It's just a weird situation, which obviously you own the home, you know it's a weird situation, but it makes it weird for us too on like what to do.
Mhm.
Ben, what are you thinking?
Ms. Fergus, are you saying that you're agreeing with staff's window solution, or you're going beyond?
No, I'm agreeing. I think that, because staff recommended that the windows that are wood stay wood and just be restored.
Oh, I see, and you're looking to replace.
No, I'm saying you can, to go with staff's recommendation, the applicant is looking to replace,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, I guess I'm feeling a little queasy about where the windows are in terms of restoration opportunities. So I would have supported replacement windows if we could have gotten the 2x2s. So I guess I want to hear a little more about that. I do not support the board and batten cover the door solution. I think that Ms. Fergus is right. It's really opening a can of worms. I mean, we just denied some board and batten solution earlier this evening. And with historic precedent showing up below the aluminum siding, I think your best solution is to find a way to replace the door, keep the aluminum siding as is. It's that, or you're going to get into a whole elevation change out, which I'm not opposed to, but that's not what's being applied here tonight. The rest, I have very little opinion about, I guess. So I think these are the two things that are on my radar.
Paige?
Yeah, so for the border ban, I would agree that we're creating a lot of weak spots too by taking out that vinyl siding and then kind of creating some weak spots for water under that deck, wherever that transition from the border batten to the vinyl will be, as well as the edges. And again, since there is evidence of what the historic siding is, we can't really approve the vertical siding there. So I would also, the faux door as an option, I'd be also would entertain any kind of just like wood paneling in that area. So if it was like I guess kind of like some of the storefront wood trimming that you see on like Short North High Street area, if we could just do kind of like a wood paneled area within that door, I'd be open to options of that. I agree with staff as far as the shutters on the east side window opening. And then I also find their recommendation for the windows appropriate as far as the replacement of the 4 newer windows and then the upkeep of the 6 historic.
I can't remember, Steph, did you do a visit to each of those windows? I can't remember.
Yes,
Okay.
we do. And they are originally 2x2. The 2 on the front, on the first floor, there is evidence of there being the original tenon or mortise there for the tenon for the mutton. So they probably were 2x2 as well, but eventually over time, deteriorated and then replaced with just a single pane window. But they would match the other ones on the property for the 2x2s.
The replacements would.
We would recommend, of course, to repair the 2x2s that need to be repaired, and then the replacements to be 2x2s to match. But that's, of course, a conversation piece as well for the windows here. But they do appear to be in good condition and repairable. Maybe some joinery issues, but that can be repaired.
Okay. So yeah, I think I'll defer to staff on the windows. My concern is just that. Certainly we go toward the proper replacement windows when we have non-original windows. I'll defer to you on the other ones. I'm not that concerned about this door. I don't know what the solution is on the door. I don't know what the solution is on the siding yet. I think we're in the back into the same problem we had previously, that we don't really know what's going on with that horizontal siding underneath there, and so that puts us in a little bit of a bind. But as far as actually closing off the door in some way, they even to make it non-evident from the exterior, if we feel like that's a door that was cut in later, I just don't have the same level of concern about that as I would a typical opening that was original to the house. That said, we need to figure out how to do that in conjunction with all the siding, and if others are more concerned that we remain and leave that as some evidence, I'm okay with that too. And then, I think the shutter solution for the window on the exterior is fine. We've certainly done things like that before. I think the bigger question of how we solve the siding issue is probably gonna take a little more investigation. I'm just not comfortable making a recommendation or making a motion of approval on the recommendation that's here today until we get a little more information. So other thoughts on this? So where do you stand as an applicant hearing those?
Can I clarify, when you have one of the 2x2s, is it like window 8 and 9 that are the 2x2s? Because when I say 2x2s, meaning there's double hung window with the divider, if you will, through the middle of the window.
Yeah, so it's 2 panes over 2 panes, so 2 on the upper sash and 2 panes on the bottom. That's how we identify as like a 2 over 2.
And you feel those are the original windows of the house?
Uh,
2 over
what'd you
2.
say?
The 2 over 2 is you feel that's the original configuration.
Because the 4 and 5 were identified as originals, they don't have that, correct?
They do not now, but after further investigation, just looking, you can see, so you can see evidence of there being a pocket where the middle portion would have gone. We have some site visit photos to show that, but
Popped it out.
yeah, someone might have popped them out at some point, and then put a single pane in instead of the 2 separate panes. But we did find evidence of those being there. I'm not sure which one that, but.
What would be, is it recommended to, what's recommended for the replacements? I guess like what window 1 and 2 and 6 and 7? I guess like is what's being recommended to that I could replace those but have to restore the originals?
That's what the recommendation is, correct.
Okay.
And I think the recommendation is also that they would all be 2 over 2, correct? So the replacements and the restoration.
Yeah, if the commission would, want to go that route of restoration, yeah, the 2 over 2 or the replacement windows to match what's existing here.
Okay.
And then the restoration of those 2 up front to 2 over 2.
There's a new, what's the new restaurant going in right at Arlington Street. They just finished those, they're like adding on to an existing building, but they just put in those 2 over 2 new windows. Look like exactly that type of styling we're trying to go for with that modern look. Modern historic, I guess you could call it, of trying to, make it look nice and like something that people want to live nearby, live and walk around and look at while preserving the historical nature of the home. So I guess that's from what's been discussed today, the recommendations in the exterior. I didn't quite understand if it's recommended to do the door or if, adding more detail to what that finish would look like is, a good possibility, but we're recommending the door. That's kind of what I heard.
I think if I could summarize and everybody jump in if I'm misstating anything, that there is a lack of current support for the board and batten approach because it would be over the top of potentially historic siding. So we'd have to know more information about the historic siding first. Even if we do think that the board and batten is appropriate, there would need to be more architectural details to show how it matched both the underside of the overhang and the floor portion and the other siding. So we just need more information if we go that route. I wouldn't go that route yet, though, until we investigate the siding that's underneath to see if that's more appropriate. Staff may have a different recommendation there. I think you heard a difference of opinion on the door, everything ranging from, I don't care if you completely cover it over, to, it could be a representative panel, to, we want to see an actual door there, even though it's closed off. So we don't have, we're not sure on that one yet, and, you know, there's other commissioners who aren't here today, so unfortunately, I can't give you a specific recommendation on that. And it seems like everybody is comfortable with the idea of keeping the window opening, but then having some sort of a shutter in order to make it look as if there was, so we know there was a window, and if it ever gets opened up again in the future, but then you could close that off from the interior. And that's an approach we've used in many other houses, mostly around the back, so you probably don't see them very often, but we don't want to eliminate a window opening that's historic in the you know, happenstance it gets restored at a later time. So from the exterior, there would some be, it would look like closed shutters. However, really on the inside, you would see a window at all. Is that a pretty good summary of what we've talked about?
I think so. And I just wonder, do you think that we could just let the applicant use a kind of a shutter sort of solution to cover the door? So we could just give them some sort of continuity, design continuity, and a simple solution to cover the opening.
Great.
To get them peeled off of this
Yeah, that's fine.
board and bad thing.
Yeah, and actually, I'm not saying we do necessarily use this solution now, but certainly back many years ago, there were a lot of, I don't know what you call them, basically that casket door, what do you call it, that side,
So,
where we use this tall shutter.
yeah, I mean, so we don't want to be too prescriptive, but by and large, this is talking about two things, that you focus the solution on covering the door in a very contained, you know, at the opening way, instead of trying to do the whole elevation. And it very possibly could be some other kind of panelized solution, but it could very well be this kind of shutter kind of feature that would be acceptable.
Yeah, and then if you know, are able and interested, you'll work with staff further to investigate what that siding is underneath, and then they could suggest some solutions that you could come back with more robust drawings on what you could potentially do on the package. So that's kind of where we are today. So the big question for you is whether or not you find the recommendation acceptable to restore the 6 windows that are historic, or whether you would like us to vote on replacing all of the windows as you propose. And we can vote on either one. That is at your discretion.
Sure. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just to add also, we could also continue the application.
But we can also continue.
Yeah, we
Sure.
could also do that just to refine the
Yeah,
application.
just that if you wanted to move forward with
Yeah.
the window process, then we can vote on either of those options. And, you know, you have to read the tea leaves as to what outcome that would be.
In terms of if that vote took place today.
Yeah.
For the windows, you're saying?
Yeah.
I'll say the rear exterior door cover up and window shutters. Good, as we mentioned, or as it was discussed, to do that, and also we can figure out shutters or door for the back, if that's best way to enclose that area and not open up your guys' can of worms.
Yeah, so I think we could approve, if you would like, we can certainly approve the 4 replacement windows. And then it's up to you if you want us to vote on all 10. And then we can approve, I think that staff can work with you on a shutter approach for the rear door, if that's okay with staff.
I think we could, yeah, for that, the door. For the window, sorry.
Yeah, so what would you like us to vote on? What do you?
Sure.
Which one would that, there were 4 replacements or all 6?
Right,
10?
if there's a vote today.
Mhm.
And we want to continue further discussion or further review of that, is that an option or what is that?
Yeah, here's what I would recommend, and this is up to you you can take this or leave it. I would recommend that you have us vote on the replacement of the 4 windows with the staff approved list windows.
Mhm.
And then you can further investigate what it would take to restore the other 6 windows. There's nothing precluding you from ever coming back and requesting those, as you just have to file another application is the only thing.
For the restoration.
Yes.
Yes.
So basically, we could give you the go ahead to do the 4. Now, that may not do you any good if you really want to do all 10 in one room at the same time. So we can do that, or we can just continue the whole thing and you could just do the
We
investigation.
deny your application, you have to reapply. It's not like, okay, then it's continued.
Right.
And it wouldn't be the same, it would have to be a different application, it would
Right.
not be the same, so.
Sure. I'm good with, so it sounds like receiving approval to replace those 4 is something I want to get.
Okay.
I would
We can
still
continue the rest of
be
the
looking to pursue the remaining 6, or I guess do more investigation into what it will take to restore it. I'm not aware of additional funding
Yeah,
that we're able to,
it's a lead paint program.
I mean, if we don't have lead paint, then I guess if we
Right.
could receive additional funding, or it would make more financial sense to replace them. I guess that would be my route of why I would want to be going that,
Well,
going
I
that
think
direction. And I-
we can continue the rest of the application, then you can come back in and, ask us about those, or we can just continue the whole thing, but it's really up to you.
Okay, I would like to approve those 4 replacements, or yeah, those 4 replacements.
The only thing for the detailing is if it's going to be the 1/1 that's proposed, or the 2/2 that we.
Yeah, I think that's are you accepting that we go with the 202?
Yes.
How's everybody feeling about that?
Would we be voting for the side window shutters and the back door shutters?
If staff's comfortable with you working with the applicant on those.
Yes, and if additionally, if the applicant would like to include that with the approval right now, we'll also need to split the application, of course, into 2 sections of approval and the continued items, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And vote on this separately.
Okay, so do we have a motion on the approval?
Sorry, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Before we do go to that motion, would the applicant like to add the east elevation shutter and the door shutter, or would you like to continue those items with the repair of the windows?
I would like to include those. Yeah, I think for those, but, so if I can understand correctly, is there an option to approve replacing the 4 windows and include those 2 items?
Yeah.
And then just continue that as
Yes.
6 windows?
And that would mean, there would just be the infill of that or and nothing to do with the siding unless you'd
Right.
like to pursue that later.
Yeah, but you got continue your application, so if you'd like to
Yeah.
revise the siding approach, you're welcome to do that too.
That would be just for continuing knowledge, if we go to replace that aluminum siding, what could we replace it with is a question.
I think you work with staff, we would recommend that you would have to look at what the siding condition is underneath the original siding. Because typically what we do, if we have good condition, original siding, then we would request that you restore that. If it's in poor condition, then we would request that you replace it with a similar material and certainly with a similar profile. And so they can help you through all that, Morgan can help you through that. We do siding all the time, so.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, can I have a motion?
I move on 24-03-007A, which will represent the restoration of the 6 windows, that we continue that for so the applicant can further research that with staff and better understand in their options.
And would you include that, all the siding changes as well? Because that's continued as well.
It's approved.
No, it's not approved.
No?
The siding is specifically.
Oh,
not
the
approved.
siding, I think it said shutters.
Well, I'm not personally inclined to open the door for any siding solutions, but
Well, I mean, I think that's already in the application. I'm just saying
Okay.
everything that
But
we're
let's
not
go ahead.
approving,
All right.
we have to continue. I think.
And any proposals for siding on the back of the house, new siding?
So that's all continued. So,
Second.
okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so that is not approved. That is something you could come back for in the future. So now the approval, if you would make that one.
I move on 24-03-007B, which will represent for replacement windows and solutions to cover openings on the, am I understanding the east side of the building?
Yeah.
Or are we
East
talking about?
and, east and
East
south,
and rear.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the
Rear.
rear is the door, I mean, the south is the door
Yes.
and the east is the window. To allow the applicant to cover both said door and window with shutter-like solutions with staff consultation for, you're gonna want a cut sheet of some sort or some sort of product to present or to agree to. So we're understanding that that will happen in your staff discussion. Did I capture everything?
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
That's Steph, what do you think?
That sounds good.
All right, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? Okay, well, keep working with staff. You can do the 4 windows right now, and then we'll go on from there.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You can buy a lead paint test kit at Home Depot.
Yeah,
Promise you have lead.
okay.
We all do.
Well, I will do that. Thank you.
4 windows?
Yeah, you
Replacement
did.
of the four.
Yeah.
Okay. If you say I did, then I'm satisfied.
I have written it
Just feel like I.
A lot going on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Noted that. Thank you.
We are to 793 Summit, which is 08-IV-24-03-008. No 793 Summit? Okay, well then we are moving on to 1060 Summit, IV 24-03-009. That's such a street. Everybody's ready? If you would raise your right hand and state your name for the record.
Julie Bullock,
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony this evening to the best of your ability.
I do.
Excellent. Okay, staff.
Thank you. Proposed work description is for new construction and variance recommendations. This is to construct a 2-story frame carriage house facing Dean Alley. Carriage house to be 22 feet, 4 inches in height. Carriage house to have 3 single garage doors. Lighting to be Kichler Barrington 13-inch wall light, distressed black. Garage door to be gel blend carriage house style wood. Roofing to be GAF slate line dimensional from improved shingle lids to match existing foam. Windows to be gel blend sight line, aluminum flat, wood exterior, wood interior from the approved windows list to match existing home as well. And siding to be wood siding to match the house with a 4.5-inch exposure. Variance recommendations are 33-32-039, our residential district to allow for 2 single-family residents on a single lot in RF district. 33-32-15, RF area district requirements required a single unit dwelling or other principal building to be situated on a lot of no less than 5,000 square feet in area, whereas the applicants proposed 2 single-family dwellings on a lot that measures 7,803 square feet. 33-32-19, fronting to allow new single-family home to not front a public street in front Beacon Alley. 33-32-25B, maximum side yard required to allow for maximum side yard of 6.75 feet in lieu of the required 10. 33-32-26C3 to allow for minimum side yard sum of 3.52 feet on the north and 3.22 feet on the south. And 33-32-27 rear yard to allow for zero rear yard for Beacon Alley dwelling in lieu of the required 25%. Staff announced the following is taken from the unapproved commission meeting minutes. Would the commissioners like me to read those details?
Anybody?
No.
At the March business meeting, the commissioners made the following statements, recommendations. They'll need to discuss the design, particularly in the west elevation, a little further. They would recommend providing additional options for light fixtures with what is being proposed. Proposed light fixtures appear to be colonial. They would recommend maybe including gooseneck light fixtures. Applicant has submitted a gooseneck light fixture as an alternative lighting fixture for the new garage construction in the same areas indicated in the current proposal. Staff recommends to approve and recommend application IV 24-03-009 as submitted with any all clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to issuance of certificate with conditions. For applicant to submit final color selection to HPO staff for final approval before application paint and to install gooseneck light fixtures over the garage doors or more appropriate sconces. Basis of staff correct is 31-16-12 standards for new construction.
as well as short north design guidelines, heights and massing, and new construction as well. Thank you.
Okay, Julie, what do you have?
I just wanted to clarify the light fixture I originally submitted is what was approved for the house. So we were copying. We're fine with changing it, but I have to say I didn't submit that. I don't know where that came from, but we're fine with doing the gooseneck. I just want to point out that's why we picked it because it's on the house now.
What else do you want to tell us about this?
And I actually did a lot of tweaking with the windows and things since you last saw it, and added some windows on the sides and respaced a lot of the windows. I think actually every facade kind of got adjusted from the last submission based on your comments, so.
And I was just not paying enough attention. This is Hardy, is that what this is?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
that was what was approved for the addition, so we're batching the details on that. The addition I'm talking about was done to the main house, I think, 2019, 2020, something like that.
Okay, let's dive in. Who wants to start? Did you have thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I appreciate kind of you, I think some of the, I was trying to catch up on some of the window updates you did. I think you kind of paired the windows together more so for our comments, correct?
I paired them or I spread them a little further apart. I guess what I would say is I tried to make them intentional, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just if I couldn't pair them because of plan issues, I tried to, I actually changed the dormer size on the south. I shifted it and things to get that to work too, so.
Okay. Yes, I appreciate the window changes. It looks like, is there maybe did you place a gooseneck over one of the garages right now? Is that what you could zoom in? My thing's not working.
Oh, yes, I did. I thought, you know what, I was showing the gooseneck over the doors instead of on the sides, but I wasn't
So,
sure where we were
guess,
gonna go with that lighting, so.
Yeah, I guess, I think that seems appropriate generally is facing the alleyway, having the goosenecks over the garage door. And then, if wanted, on the other elevations, having that kind of side light next to the main door, I would find appropriate as well.
I wondered if you would want me to do the other light next to the people door that faces the yard that matches the house, or would you prefer them all to be goosenecks? Just want to get some.
I would be open to either. For the one that's adjacent to main doors that you're showing,
Yes.
I'm open to the one to match the main home. And then I believe the other discussion was the roof on the west elevation. And I just wanted to get some context. There's discussions on if that, to it, if Ben, you brought this up, if this guy could be turned into a dormer or similarly to this dormer here. And I wanted to just give you time to explain if there's something on the interior or why that is.
There is, it's because of the stairs and that whole headroom issue right there, which is why I did that dormer like that. My other option would be to do a shed dormer on the, it does set back like a few feet. Oh, I also shifted it. You guys had asked me to shift give you more depth on the alley side.
Oh, yes.
I forgot to mention that. So it does sit back a little bit from the main gable facade, so I feel like it's not as prominent. I do need it for the stair. I could do a dormer or something like is on, if you're looking at the western elevation on the right there, and then make the other dormer smaller. But I need that headroom there.
Yeah.
That's why.
Well, I think since from kind of that east elevation and it reads still as a dormer with the setback, with the dormer to the right too, so I'm actually inclined to approve as is there as well. And can you go to the plan, please, so we can look at that recess that was adjusted? Okay, so that was, pushed back in what looked like maybe like 3 or so feet. Okay,
Before it was reversed, if that makes, it was closer and
that was pulled up a little bit. Yeah, I think that was a change for the better as far as reading that dimension from the front as well. I have no other comments.
Yeah, I'm feeling less sympathetic about that dormer, and I think that's, you know, I'm sorry that puts pressure on you, but we're looking at exterior architecture here, and we all know it's a more appropriate kind of solution to see that roof resolved down the same way as the gable. So just to make sure we're clear, I'm talking the same thing on page that this area needs to match that, express the dormer the way you have on the other elevation. And if you need to think about the floor plate to better solve the headroom issues, then I think that needs to happen. I also think that we need more overhangs on all gable exposures. So right now we're looking at what, 6, 8 inches? And
well, it's code issue, that's why.
Setback.
I can do it front and back, but not side to side.
Due to the setbacks, is that
Yeah.
why?
Yeah. I can maybe get like another 3
Well,
inches.
You'd have known that we wanted more overhangs. It's more architecturally appropriate. These are kind of suburban overhangs, and the footprint should have been adjusted accordingly, but
The overhangs do match what's on the house and was approved for the previous addition. I'm trying to see it right there. I mean, I matched that on that bottom elevation there, that little would be on the south elevation, the little building there with the two, well, you gotta print up actually.
With this portion.
Yeah, yeah. It matches that overhang detail that was approved previously, but I could bring it forward a little bit. I was just trying to kind of match existing.
okay. I think that you should where you can.
Okay.
I think I'm in agreement that the lighting sconces are less than appropriate. So if you're talking about gooseneck, I think that's
Okay.
a more appropriate solution. I hope that you can do more. I mean, already our roof lines in this are of a pitch that seem peculiar to our neighborhood, but I'll leave it at that.
It is a little bit, I just say the original house that we matched for the addition. I feel like it's a little bit atypical for Italian Village. It's
Right.
more of like
I would
farmhouse style.
support a taller peak in order to get the right kind of roof pitches. And so if that also helps your
It does.
clearance inside, then you should consider that as well. Notwithstanding other opinions down the line.
Okay, where does that leave all of us right now?
I mean, if I can just make it a little steeper, bump up the height, like 18 inches, I can make everything work. Would that be acceptable?
From my seat, yes.
Is that, where does that place us, to the existing garage? Carriage house is next door, as far as height wise.
Well, I was already shorter than them.
Okay.
So that's why I said the 18 inches. I'm trying to read this. It's very small.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're at 24.4
Mhm.
and I'm only at 22.
Okay.
So if I could go up just another 18 inches, and I just looked, I guess my variance, there's no height variance required, so it doesn't affect that.
So we would be at, you said.
So you're saying just make the pitch steeper, not raise the eaves, just make the pitch steeper. It's what we're kind
Well, if
of.
you can lower the eaves too, that obviously help the situation.
Yeah, Yeah, and
It also, would reduce the sort of impressiveness, if you will, of the elevation. In other words, it has a kind of a tallish feel. So I don't think it's wrong to lower the eaves. And at the same time, to get the roof pitch, it would seemingly get closer to a more appropriate kind of roof line for the community.
I'd agree with this as well. I think those are nice solutions.
Okay, so where does that leave us now?
I think we just said we're giving the applicant the option to raise the peak by 18 and lower the eave by something to be stipulated. It could be as probably no more than 6 or 8 inches, but I don't know what kind of ripple effect that creates in terms of window placement and so forth. So, but I stand behind that the dormer should exist on the west side, and if these roof adjustments allow that dormer to happen, then I think it's an appropriate kind of direction.
Okay.
can I just show
Yeah, please.
something just to make sure? Just bringing that up and bringing that down and then separating this.
Yes,
Okay.
but pass that by Commissioner.
Not me.
That's good. What?
Like this. So I'll just kind of swing it that way and then separate this and then.
Yep.
And then the light.
Yep, I just, yeah, cognizant of.
Yeah, we're still gonna be about a foot below those,
Okay.
so.
Awesome.
And they're proposing, because they're right, like, it feels like one building, it's even though it's two. So just right next to each other.
All right, staff, what do you recommend?
If the commission would be fine with those design changes, I'd probably recommend maybe doing a subcommittee with Mr. Goodman and Plansky, with those updated drawings,
Yeah.
to be submitted. So.
I think Shannon and I endorse that.
Yeah. Well, I would really love to
Really?
be on the subway. I've provided a lot of value.
All
I
right.
would agree to that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
And also just for clarification, goosenecks over all doors, garage door, man doors, or goosenecks over garage doors, and sconces on man doors, just a clarification of those lighting fixtures.
Okay,
When we go for.
so with that, does anyone, would anyone like to make a motion?
What was that part you said about the lighting?
It was a discussion, of course, we recommended it'd be more appropriate to have the goosenecks
Yeah.
over garage doors. Commissioner Kaplanski made a note of goosenecks over the garage doors and sconces next to the man doors,
Okay.
if that would be appropriate.
Or I guess either snacks or Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Indoors for the week.
I mean, honestly, we're fine with either, so it's whatever.
All right, I'll make the motion on application 24-03-009, 1060 Summit Street, that we approve with the following conditions, that lighting will be moved to gooseneck lighting, with the option for the applicant to implement sconces at human doors. And that the applicant modify the roof line to a steeper pitch with the flexibility to raise the peak and lower the eave height to accomplish that, with those modifications to be submitted to staff for further review by subcommittee, including Goodman and Kaplanski. That modification is also to reflect an expression of a dormer on the west elevation. Did I capture everything?
I think so. Staff, you okay with that?
Yes, and also, final paint color section too. That's fair.
You okay with that? I think color selection comes staff.
Yes.
All right.
Is the
Oh,
recommendation on the variance separate?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Now can I have a motion on the recommended variances?
I move to recommend variances for application IV. Oh, wait a minute. My iPad's not in order.
24, 03,
009.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that a G then?
Um,
I didn't say A on the other one, so.
No, because these are.
recommendation for variance.
And when we go through the minutes, we can separate them out as A
Okay.
and B, so they're separate first.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of recommending variances? Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, good luck.
Great, thank you for all your help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think we've had anybody from New Village Homes or 793 Summit come in. Anyone? Either of those? All right, hearing none, I think we're ready to move on to conceptual application. Is that correct? All right, so we got 840 North High Street, ID 240301.
David Morgan, I needed to leave by 6. Is Warren still here by a week?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
We need to leave it.
Let's consider.
Yeah, even with conceptual.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I had the discussion with James Goodman recently, but it will still need to be for quorum to hold the meeting, so that's what it is.
We're gonna go fast.
Yeah.
All right,
If you're gonna like this so much, we'll be.
sounds good. Staff, what do you have on this one?
So this is ID 2403-010 of 840 North High Street. Proposed work description, alteration to existing breezeway, creating new egress access for the interior courtyard to the east side of property, addition of a doorway to connect the east existing breezeway to the existing restaurant space, add backlit wall-mounted trellises with faux boxwood hedges and TVs, add dining tables, chairs, and outdoor lounge furniture, add portable outdoor bar equipment, add new overhead string lights, and signage is not included with the application at this time. Applicant initially reached out in November 2023 to inquire if the breezeway patio dining would need to be reviewed by the commission. Informed applicant that since this is a breezeway, it is still considered outside space as well as being a form of egress. We recommend that applicant reach out to building and zoning and to see if adding a patio would be in line with building code, as well as if there would be another form of egress added. Applicant had since applied and provided the requested information from BZS, as well as reconfiguring a new egress point from the inner courtyard. BZS stated that the second means of egress appears to meet the requirements. It does not see any issues with the revisions, but will need to review the plans a little more in detail when the permit is submitted. Additionally, the ownership group has stated that they would be in favor of a breezeway and new egress point. At the March business meeting, commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Will the breezeway be accessible from the interior courtyard area and vice versa? The application will need to have further discussion about the sound from the proposed outside TVs and recommend to look into maybe using pavers as the walkway service in the breezeway. Commissioner responded saying that yes, the existing west gate and new east gate will be accessible to all tenants. However, when sport and social closed, tenants will not be able to access for reasons of security. 4 televisions are located on the north wall of the breezeway, while 1 is located on the south wall. Those on the north wall are located east of the center. Proposed faux vegetation lattice, which are intentionally mounted along the north and south walls of the existing breezeway. These panels will both visually and acoustically soften the sound of the space. And for staff notes, staff does have concern for the proposed TVs and how the noise will impact the outdoor space per Short North design guidelines. Staff recommends the commissioners should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at a future IBC meeting, and no action is required.
Okay, and we are on a little bit of time crunch, so if you can make it brief, that'd be great.
Like, sorry, was that me?
Go ahead.
Okay, Carter Bean, 4400 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio, 43214. And with me tonight is Mr. Dave Zellman.
With the Portage Companies.
Yes. Thank you for seeing us tonight. The business meeting was informative and we did go away and make some adjustments to the plan. Acoustics was the primary concern, I believe, as I was listening to the comments during the business meeting. So some area mats have been proposed throughout the space, which have a rubber backing and will help absorb some sound. We've added some clarification with the green screens that are applied on all walls, which will help reduce sound. And furthermore, a fair amount of furniture is cushioned, upholstered furniture, which will also help dampen the sound. This breezeway space is is very underutilized at this point, and it's really just kind of a keyhole peep into the face of this building from High Street. So we're concerned about sound in there as well. You know, it's not just sound escaping, but just the comfort of our patrons being in that space. The TVs themselves are an integral part of this business, so we'd love to find a solution with you all and keep this project moving forward. Would you like for us to take you through the design in general, or have you seen enough with the?
Why don't we walk through the comments and then we'll kind of come back to the
Great.
questions. I think we've got at least a sense of it, so. Jen, you wanna
If
jump
I
in?
may
Yeah,
add,
please.
so a couple of things. The vision for what this was when we first saw this property. And the vision is some of the great courtyard spaces that you find in places like Savannah or New Orleans. And we work all over the country. One of the things that really has resonated, especially since COVID with our guests, is be able to provide some type of an outdoor opportunity for guest interaction. And here on High Street, this was it. So this was something that we have very deliberately spent a lot of time on to try to make it make sense. You know, working through the egress, trying to make the space approachable when it's right now very utilitarian, all because we think that this will be a very unique space that actually adds to the community. And we feel that very strongly. In terms of sound control, again, something that we deal with quite a bit, and we can get into some real weeds with staff if needed on the sound controls and the acoustic aiming techniques that we use with our outdoor devices. Because again, we do this quite a bit in urban areas, being able to zone these things and frankly, tune and looking for the right word. Focus, thank you. The acoustics is a technology that actually has come quite a long way in the past 10 years or so. And we use a consultant group that does that quite a bit because we're involved with this quite a bit. So I want to provide some assurance that we are very happy to work with staff, with this commission, to provide a level of comfort that that will be addressed and very tunable as well as controllable when this is implemented. So just wanted to put that out there.
Appreciate it. Okay.
I think that the two considerations for me that make me okay with this, and I was not at the business meeting, is that there's a ceiling and a door. Like, you know, to me, I kind of view this as Marcellas on a Saturday night having all their, you know, expandable windows open and people are sitting, you know, at tables right there. The TVs make me a little nervous, but I kind of think that the market will handle itself if it's a problem anyways. So I think it would be an interesting, I don't want to call it, it is an experiment. We haven't done it yet. You all know, we know that we don't allow TVs on open patios. But to me, this space is very, very internal to the building. It's really just like open windows. So that's kind of my excuse. I also think that this courtyard, you know, space is unfortunately, it was envisioned to be an active space, and, you know, I live around the corner and I've never, ever, 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 ever.
I went through it once.
Okay, all right. Found one person who went through it once on the opening day.
It was a party.
We're happy to give you an invitation.
So I really like the idea of activating this space and providing a sense of safety. I know from a SEPTED standpoint, I'm sure that these gates are locked, but any woman walking down the street doesn't necessarily do that and probably doesn't love having this weird empty open space anyways, as they're walking down the street. So that's me trying to ensure that we're not being capricious.
Yeah, makes sense. Copy.
Yeah, I'll just echo what my commissioner said, and then I will just add that I think in the north elevation of the covered patio, we have all the TVs pushed. I think it's probably at least like 15 feet back past that first column bay. And I think if we could make that happen on the south one as well, that would help just with visuals when you're walking down that street to avoid your kind of visuals to that TV for the pedestrians.
Excellent.
So that would be my one recommendation.
Thank you.
Ben?
I love reactivating this passageway, and I would just request that whatever the sound solutions are for the patio, that it just does not occur in the passageway itself. And I kind of look forward to a unique ground plane treatment, whether pavers or terrazzo or some other kind of durable surface. And I hope that you look at some unique lighting, including even classical lighting, given the kind of portico-like quality of this passageway. So I'm anxious to see your actual solutions.
So the one thing I will say is we certainly will look at solutions. Pavers are difficult in that location because breaking up that existing slab is going to be difficult. And further, once we get fluids into those pavers in a drinking area, they're very hard to power wash in that enclosed area to keep it clean. So we want to make sure we have a hard surface. That's why we're looking at maybe an indoor-outdoor rug is something that we can take out, clean appropriately, keep maintained. So that's just something that we're going to have to work through as we do this.
I haven't thought of this, and
All right.
even I can discuss
We're
it.
open to some options. Yeah, I think this is great. I love small, weird bar spaces. And we don't have a lot of that because of the nature of we have a lot of new builds in this portion of the short north. I think that the argument for the exterior use with regard to TV and sound is pretty easy in this location for two reasons. One, the real intent of those restrictions is to preclude this sort of barrage of operating TVs in the public realm,
Right.
Which is the common public space that we're walking down, as well as we were kind of battling. There was it was like walking down like a Sirius XM commercial for a while, like every 3 steps you get another radio station or another song. So we're just trying to eliminate that, and I don't think this does that at all. I also think that while I love outdoor space and I highly encourage it, we also have this ongoing conflict of utilizing the High Street corridor where people have tried to push further and further out and really restrict that walkability and the public access. And this is like the best of both worlds. You get outdoor space, it's about as wide as it would be if it was on the sidewalk, except it's not on the sidewalk, so we still get the sidewalk. So I think it's great. And it's really good to reactivate this. Personally, I really love to go to bars that don't have TVs, and I also don't mind some sports gambling. So I understand that in this particular case, it's probably pretty useful in order to have TVs there. So I don't really have anything else to tell you. I'm in agreement with Ben. I'd like to see an interesting floor treatment. I read your response why it's difficult on the pavers. That's fine. Unless you have any other questions for us, I think we're just eager to see you finalize the details and come back to us with a new application or a revised application.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes, thank you for all the recommendations, and we'll come back to you with a great package.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, and it's probably way ahead of it, but whenever you're ready for signage, I'm sure staff can, guide you on that pretty clearly.
Correct.
That will actually be next month.
Okay, good. Well, there we go. Take care of all.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, last and least, not least, last but not least. Sorry, I said that wrong. Definitely not least. I am definitely not least. ID 2403011244 East 4th Avenue. Can you please raise your right hand, state your name for the record?
Heather Sportsmiller, Hot Studio.
Bill Roski, Councilman.
And you promise to tell the truth in your testimony this evening.
Yes.
All right, staff.
Okay, I'm gonna get through this quickly, Commissioner Burgess, if you're fine. So new construction, construct 2 new residential structures and new detached garage. There will be building A, B, and C. Building A will be a single family dwelling unit, which is 35 feet in height, with the listed materials in the staff report and the agenda. Building B will be a detached garage, which will match building A in the materials. Building C will be a duplex unit facing Greenwood. This will be 35 feet height as well. There will be two-car garage that will be attached facing Greenwood Avenue, and the list of materials are on the agenda as well. Units to include 3 surface lot parking spaces located to the west of property. Site improvements to include new concrete driveway, That seems wrong. I apologize about that. Site improvements to include new concrete driveway to connect the access, detached garage, new landscaping, and new tree to be added to site, and 2 new bike parking spaces. There's also exterior alterations to restore the historic shotgun home facing Greenwood Avenue, restoration to include new asphalt shingles for improved lists, new half-round gutters, repair existing wood siding and install new wood siding to match for existing, new windows from the approved windows list, and new entry doors following IBC guidelines, repair foundation walls needed, and new cast in place concrete steps. The following is from the commission meeting minutes from January 30th. Would the commissioners like me to read through those minutes? Thank you. Okay. At the March business meeting, the commissioners made the following statements and recommendations. Commissioners recommended using a more permeable paver for the driveway instead of concrete. Requested applicant look into lot coverage with BZS. Asked applicant to provide additional information on navigability of the driveway and garage. Will the future owner have to back out of the drive or back into a driveway to the garage? Or will there be enough space for the car to turn around? Commission requests a streetscape elevation drawing of proposed design in relation to the existing properties. Will it be, need to include the general mass of the building, including the height, which has been provided. Commissioners request the applicant provide a narrative describing design choices that have been made in relation to neighborhood context. Additional information on the tract collection for the properties is needed. Ask for additional information how they're proposing to move the existing shotgun. Will applicant be deconstructing, rebuilding, or moving the structure as a whole? Commissioners asked applicant to provide additional information on water runoff and drainage. Applicant has submitted the following and the response. A variance for the lot coverage has been listed in the site plan. All the buildings surrounding this property are a mix of industrial, warehouse, commercial, traditional, residential architecture, and modern industrial architecture. The new building that faces East 4th, a detached garage designed to align with historic Italian village architecture in style, form, and scale. The new modern industrial building is designed to have some traditional residential forms along with modern industrial forms and materials that complement the existing and new industrial modern forms of the surrounding buildings on Greenwood. Per Columbus zoning code 1301-25, a dumpster is only needed for 5 or more units. Since one building was changed from a duplex to a single family, there are now only 4 units on the site. The trash cans in the garage are in their garages, and we'll have additional waste receptacle for the storage unit. This is yet to be determined, but work on this selected contract. Apologies about that, sir. We would like to discuss permeable pavers with commissioners and staff and investigate this existing stormwater and sanitary connections, and we'll work with the select engineers to determine the best way to manage the stormwater per site. Staff is in support of the proposed restoration of the shotgun cottage facing Greenwood Avenue, and the commissioners should offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal. No action is required.
Okay, over to you.
Quickly regarding the permeable paving, is that required or is that in response to the amount of lot coverage?
I think it's a response to amount of lot coverage, and it's a discussion that we can have about.
And so it'd be favored being, since we are adding the bigger driveway to the garages, we've eliminated the on-site, paved parking spots, but additional driveway, make it so the water can filter through.
That's
obviously and the stormwater questions from that. I'm not a civil engineer, and I think but that's why I mentioned when we've already done the GIS investigations to see where the tie-ins are for the stormwater and sanitary. And like I said, we'll work with civil to mitigate any flooding and ponding.
Yeah, and it's really not so much as the permitted situation, is that we're just trying to mitigate the increasing coverage of, we're just getting denser. And so when we have the opportunity to have permeable areas in the pavement, we try to encourage that.
Okay.
Other thoughts before we dive in you want to share with us?
No, and regarding, like I said, the kind of bit of, not really vagueness, but not fully clear on the moving of the historic. I think that
it isn't moving now, right?
It is moving slightly, kind of. But it's still staying on the back for the visual exposure that was discussed. But I think to be able to do that new industrial building and the space for the driveway and the clearance, we kind of shifted it back towards the alley, so even more exposure.
Is that
in a sense?
Technical question, staff, with regard to how they're going to recreate the foundation? I know that it's kind of dire straits right now. There's no.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
It's pretty rough.
Yeah, no, that was a question from Commissioner Berardi at the business meeting of just the plan, if it's gonna be deconstructed, the whole building is gonna be deconstructed, or if it's just gonna be moved with the rebuild of the foundation. type
I mean, I
thing.
think realistically, it's gonna be deconstructed
Yeah.
and rebuilt.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't see any, short
Pick
of
it up, yeah.
digging the whole thing up and literally moving it. I think reconstructing it with all the, existing elements.
Yeah, I think if you could kind of provide, similar to earlier, sort of an operational plan that you could provide to staff to describe how you're gonna do that in ways that we've just had circumstances in the past with buildings that were intended to be preserved and then things went awry. And so if you could just give us a little reassurance that there's a thoughtful process in place in order to relocate. So is it okay if we dive in and give you some feedback then?
Yes.
Okay, Paige, where you start?
Yeah. So I want to make sure I have all the buildings. With, building A, yeah. So building A is the blue home, that is the, one more representative of the historic homes
Right.
around. So I think just more information on that front porch will be, important for the full application. And that being, said, kind of making sure we're diving into those guidelines as far as what's required for the railing and kind of the look that's happening there as far as the sizing of those columns, and how that roof is detailed. All those, since we are going with the look of more of the historic home, will be important in that submission. And then as far as the moving of the smaller home back there, I think, yeah, we're all interested to see how that'll happen. But one thing that I do appreciate for that is that it gives room for this little guy between the modern structures around it. So it lets it kind of breathe and draws almost more attention to it with that interstitial space between it. So if we can figure out how we're doing that, I think that would be beneficial to kind of pull away from the modern structures next door. And then the overall first look and feel of the industrial structure on Greenwood. I think from first glance, my main impression would be oftentimes we strive to have kind of a front door on that facing Greenwood. There's garage doors along that drive, along that alley, but I think more often than not, we also still have that front door approach. So I guess looking to see if there's any opportunity to kind of make this feel less of a back of house here, since this Greenwood is turning into more of a front door street. Yeah.
Great.
I agree. I really appreciate the way you've laid everything out on the site. We've played with this site for like 5 years at this point. And so, I think in terms of being able to keep the little shotgun, this is a great way to do it. And I'm just going to assume that the market is taking care of whether or not a car is going to be able to back in and out of that garage. I am a little, and I'll leave this to Paige like in the future, but the windows in building A look oddly placed to me. I don't know if that's because of the programming that's going on, but it looks like
north elevation.
Yeah, unbalanced somehow. So I would take a look at that. And then I really agree with the front door. We just had an application that we approved tonight on Greenwood where we had them at a front door with their garages. So we would probably need to see that here as well for the more modern building. That's all I've got.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here, guys. I think that the way you've picked up on the proportions and rhythm of the street, even with the modern building, is great. There are some interesting questions there posed about the entrance on the building B. By and large, I am pretty happy with the punches on all of the window punches on all of the or both building A and building B, except on building A, when I'm looking at the north elevation, it looks like that the second level windows are 6 feet tall and the lower ones are 5 feet tall. And I typically kind of whinge at those kind of things. It's not too bad here. But just be aware if you start shuffling things around that between that and as I look on that same building on the east elevation, it just seems like the eave is high compared to the head of the window. So it might be that you're asking a lot in the ceiling height of the second floor, and maybe you're getting greedy. In any case, there is this illusion that there's this kind of high forehead between the head of the window and the bottom of the eave. Speaking of the eaves, I think it's important to have appropriate overhangs and to consider whether, like on building A, you're going to be expressing rafter tail ends or a soffit. I think that given the type of roof line we're looking at here, seeing exposed rafter tails would be more appropriate, and half round gutters, I'm not really sure what you have right now, versus hopefully not K or OG style. I definitely support the shotgun house restoration proposal. And I am going to lean in hard on the an appropriate driveway solution, permeable in some fashion, some percentage at least.
Yeah, now that we did add one on the materials page, that.
But, generally speaking,
Yeah.
even what you've done with the modern building, the punches and this expression of the standing seam form, just because the fact you've expressed the gable on top, I think brings it back home in many ways. So I think that that's, as far as the casement windows go, it just feels like it belongs to your proposal type or for building. I'm sorry. I guess it's building D is what I'm talking about. What is building B? Wait a minute.
Building
B's garage.
Yeah, B is the garage.
B's the garage.
and sees the great.
C is
Three is
the
the-
C is this door.
Yeah,
D is
D
the-
is-
I was, so I'm building D. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am curious about how you're going to respond about this side entrance versus back. Greenwood Avenue. So I don't envy you in that situation.
Yeah, I'll give very brief comments. I agree, that is a challenge. And we are balancing this ability to allow garage doors directly on there with still maintaining some sort of a semblance of this rhythm of front door. So again, I don't know what the answer is, but it's, I'm interested in that as well. Be great preserving the small building, moving it's fine, as long as we understand how that works. I'll leave the architecture of the historic house to the experts, and I know, you'll get that all worked out. As it really honestly, as in the modern as well. I'll be honest with you, that sort of, I don't even know what you call it, sort of that like deconstructed traditional style. That's not my style. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not my style necessarily. I think what I'm more interested in is how that interfaces with that view sort of over the top of that small little house. And then, how the materials on the side, since it's an unusual facade, how it kind of interplays with that and accents that bit of a weird interplay of different architectural styles that are going to be around there for a while. Other than that, I think we can work with you to figure out this permeable pavement situation. We're just trying to kind of do our best in order to figure out the best solutions. And overall, really happy with the way that you've approached the project. And I think we're definitely going in the right direction. So other questions for us?
One last question. You mentioned percentages with permeable paver, so it could be, maybe not the extent of the California drive like the other one recommended, but it could be a percentage of.
I think we're up to talk to you about that. I mean, our overall goal is to not have big expanses of hard pavement throughout any place in the village. Just, it seems like the time for that has passed, and You can even see Ben did a really great job of advocating for that in the newer phases of Jeffrey, which if you go by some of the back townhouses right near the park, the whole alleys are pavers, and it really does change the whole sort of characteristic. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to do that, whether it's the whole driveway or doing, mixture and finding unusual and interesting ways to do that. I think we're open to your solutions. We just would like to try to reduce the amount of hard paved surface as much as we can.
The development of where the Rhino is, that back parking
The whole
lot.
back parking lot.
That is permeable, and there's some, I think there's some concrete,
Probably
it's a
Yeah.
mix, so take a look at that.
Yeah, we're not prescriptive about it has to be this thing or that thing. It's more like, let's talk about it together and understand what can work. So
With the intent of,
with the intent of permeability.
not so much, yeah.
Yeah, if you said we'd like it to be concrete, we would.
Be sad, and then we would be mad. Other thoughts by anybody? I know Shannon's got to get out of here. All right, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Can I get a motion on continuance for the two applications we skipped? One is IV, or I'll just make a motion, IV-24-23-08, continue till next regular scheduled meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, and then the last one, we're done with our business, and Shannon Nicole, is, I move to continue on which one is it? Oh, 23-12-010 Second Avenue to the next regular schedule. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's do it. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Oh, yes, I guess. All in favor of adjourn.
Getting there.
Well, this is great. Got it.